Welcome to DFW Airport's 2023 Earth Day celebration. I'm Jean Allen.
And I'm Dina Henry with the Environmental Affairs Department. Today we are going to explore DFW Airport's sustainability focus area, circular economy, with a STEAM activity about composting.
At DFW, we are passionate about reducing our environmental impacts today to ensure our future generations can enjoy all the world has to offer. Join us on this journey as we take you to sustainability and beyond.
Did you know that over 1/3 of the food produced in the United States is never eaten? Food waste takes up more space in U.S. landfills than anything else. Once the food is buried in the landfill, it breaks down, generating methane, a potent greenhouse gas that contributes to climate change.
One way you can help the environment and combat climate change is by recycling your food waste into compost. Composting diverts food waste from landfills and generates a nutrient-rich soil amendment that can be used for your houseplants and in your garden.
Today we are going to show you how to set up two types of composting bins, a traditional composting bin and a vermicomposting or worm compost bin.
Dina, what items come in the traditional compost kit?
The traditional compost kit will include a bin with a locking lid, and the bin will have holes pre-drilled in the bottom and bottom sides for aeration and drainage. There'll be a puppy pad to place underneath the bin in case there is any excess moisture that drains from the bin. A small plastic rake, a thermometer, a water bottle to hydrate the bin, and a compost pail to collect the food scraps in. How about the worm kit? What will it include?
The worm kit comes with an identical plastic container, but the holes will be drilled in the top and along the sides so that the worms can breathe. A brick of cocoa coir to hydrate for their bedding. A voucher to order 500 worms from Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. And when you order those, you'll receive a bag like this with your worms. And this kit will also use the water bottle, the rake, and the pail for collecting scraps.
So now we're going to show everyone how to set up a worm compost bin. And we want to make sure we have our worm compost bin set up before our worms arrive, because once the worms arrive, we need to get them in there pretty quick. So the first layer is going to be about 3 inches of the hydrated cocoa coir.
Okay, so this is the cocoa coir?
Right, this is how the kit will come like this, and there'll be instructions in the kit on how to hydrate it.
Okay.
So we're gonna use some already hydrated.
Okay, and then this is what it looks like hydrated.
We want about 3 inches.
Okay. One more scoop maybe?
I'll do 2.
2 more? Okay. Yeah, it's nice and moist. When you squeeze it, you should be able to get a couple of drops of water out.
Kind of like a damp
sponge.
sponge.
Not too dry. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're looking for.
Perfect.
Okay.
And we'll just kind of spread that out.
Okay. Okay. What next?
And then next we're going to do the 2 inches of potting soil.
Okay. And if I don't have potting soil, can I just get this out of my yard?
Yes, as long as your yard is not being sprayed like for weed control or anything like that. We don't want to add any kind of chemicals to the bin. So.
Oh, that's good to know.
Or you can just buy a plain bag of potting soil.
Okay. Okay. All right, so this is pretty dry.
And this is for to provide the worms with what's called grit.
Okay. Yeah, so
And
this has
they need that to digest the food scraps.
Okay.
The grit. So
okay. Yeah,
that's
this is a
what
little
the soil.
chunkier than the cocoa coir.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
We got that. And then next we are going to add our worms. So we have 500.
The fun part.
Yeah. We have 500 red wigglers. That's the typical composting worm. And these come in the mail in this bag, and you'll have instructions on how to hydrate them because they come slightly dehydrated.
Yeah,
travel.
being mailed across country dries them out a little bit. So we added a little bit of water to them to hydrate them. So now we'll just gently pour them in on top. And they may very likely be in a large ball. So you don't really want to break up the ball of worms. They'll just do that.
You can see it moving.
Yes.
They're in there moving. Oh, wow, look at all that. There's 500 of them in there.
Little living ball of soil right there. And yeah, these are very healthy and active. So that's terrific. So we don't really want to disturb them. They'll kind of acclimate and bury and explore here on their own. So we can smooth them out a little bit, but just be gentle.
If when your worms arrive and there's like a foul smell, because I did have this happen, it is possible that they could have died in shipment, and it happens. So if you suspect that the worms are not alive when you receive them, you'll just call Uncle Jim's Worm Farm and they will send you another shipment of worms. And they're pretty quick. They should come within 2 to 3 days. So.
That's great.
Yeah, but these guys are very healthy and very active, so.
Yeah, they're doing great.
Yeah. Typically, you're gonna wait about 2 days before you feed them.
Okay.
So once we get them in here, we want to cover them with some damp newspaper or cardboard and then give them a few days to settle.
Okay. A little traumatic.
Worms don't like light, so having the lights on when you're doing this helps them to want to burrow down into the bedding and stuff. So they prefer darkness. So we will go ahead and take some
cardboard, and I'm just very gently just kind of smoothing this out just a little bit, and we'll just add our cardboard right on top.
Yeah.
We can use
there's some pre-shredded cardboard, and we also have some leaves in here. You can use either or both. Okay. And then we want to moisten them. Do you want to?
Yep, we'll give them a good little mist so this cardboard and the leaves are nice and moist, but not dripping wet. And what should we do to keep the light out?
So what I do is I made a screen for them. So you can take like 3 sheets of or 4 sheets of construction paper and just tape them together and make like a little, like a screen. Okay. So you can put them up against the wall and then have the screen of black paper, some type of dark paper. That way they'll be encouraged to feed and stuff. Otherwise, if the light is always on, they tend to want to just stay at the bottom and they're not going to want to come up to feed. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll go on and put our lid on and let them get settled.
For 2 days, and then we'll come back and feed them.
Okay, so it's been 2 days now. Our worms should have acclimated to their new home, so we're gonna give them some food.
All right, so we're gonna take our compost pail, and these, everyone should have been collecting different food scraps, vegetables and fruit scraps, greens, any type of salad stuff that you don't use, coffee grounds, eggshells. So we've got a little bit of everything in here.
Now, is there anything they really shouldn't have that I can't put in the bin with the worms?
Meat.
Oh.
No meat, no dairy. So no cheese or yogurt or liquids, milk, things like that.
Okay.
No cheeseburgers or chicken nuggets, and no onions. citrus, so no oranges. Too much citrus is not good for the worms. And then no salty snacks, so no pizza crusts or chips or anything like that. The salt can dehydrate the worms out and then it'll kill them. So we don't want to put any of that in there. So
I don't think we'll be parting with any of those yummy items for this, but some of those vegetables I bet will make their way in here.
So in here I've got some different, I've got some tomatoes, I've got tops of strawberries, I've got some blackberries that didn't get eaten. All of this would have maybe went in the trash, but we can actually, feed this to our worms. And we've got some eggshells, but we want to kind of break those up before we put them in. The eggshells actually are for just some added calcium and provide extra grit for the worms. On top of that, this is very important, we want to add either a nice layer of either the cocoa coir bedding or we can use potting soil, whichever you have. But we want to cover the food because otherwise you could get fruit flies.
Okay.
So
we don't want that to happen.
We don't want that, and the worms don't like the fruit flies either.
So I'll just take a couple of little handfuls.
Well, you want to completely cover it.
Okay. That's good to know. So I make sure that it's completely covered. Okay. And then once this is covered, do we put anything else on top?
It depends. If your bin is too wet, you can take just like some sheets of either newspaper, or I usually just use cardboard, whatever you have handy, and you can just lay them straight onto the top of this layer, just like this. And then that way, the next day you can open the bin and the excess moisture will have absorbed into the cardboard, and then you can either shred that up or just take it out. If the bin is too dry, then you'll need to spray it. So I might maybe spray this one a little bit since these guys are new in here. And that's it. So hopefully they will have a nice meal. And then we're gonna go ahead and put our lid back on. And then again, we want to keep them out of the direct light. So we want to put them somewhere either in a corner and then surround them with like the dark paper screen that we talked about earlier. And then probably feed them every 2 to 3 times a week. So we just, we can use the small rake and gently just kind of check on them, see how they're eating. If it looks like they're still working on what we just put in there, then you want to wait.
Wait another day or two. And
if it looks like they've already gone through it, then definitely go ahead and feed them. So you only want to feed them what they can eat. You don't want to overfeed them because then it'll get smelly and all kinds of things will happen.
It'll get too wet and maybe attract.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So now we're going to set up a traditional compost bin, which uses heat to break down the food waste, in addition to like microbes and bacteria. So the first layer we're going to put in here, and remember, we want to put our puppy pad, because this bin has drain holes in the bottom, just in case there's any excess moisture. We want it to drain out. We don't want it to become too wet.
So as it's heating up and breaking down the food, it may release some liquid?
Right.
Okay, good to know.
Also, the food has a lot of moisture in it too, and so that all will, so we want to start with a layer of brown, which is going to be your carbon.
So cardboard, leaves.
Right. You want to just dump that in there, and then we want a nice, dump the whole bag in there.
Collect this from the yard.
Yep.
Break down some Amazon
These
boxes.
leaves are from my yard. And then this cardboard is all cardboard that I've just shredded, from just packages, boxes and stuff. You could also use paper. You just don't want to use like magazines that has like
none of that
glossy
slick,
color.
shiny
Right,
paper.
exactly.
Okay.
And then the next is going to be our soil layer.
So just some potting soil.
And this is important because it has bacteria and microorganisms are already in the soil that are going to help speed up and aid in the decomposition of all the food scraps that we're going to put in there.
And store-bought soil
You can
is
get it from
fine,
your
or-
yard as
okay.
long as you're not treating it with chemicals, or you can just
Because we want to use this in our garden ultimately, so we don't want
to grow
add anything bad
vegetables or
into it.
flowers, right?
Okay.
Okay, and then now we are going to add our green layer. So our green layer is all of the food scraps that we've been collecting in our compost pail. And we're gonna show you
Now,
what we've
items
got
for
in
this
here.
bin is similar.
We don't
For
want
both bins.
we don't want meat or dairy.
dairy.
It's just it can cause a lot of odor. So we don't want to put anything like that in here. If you were doing a large pile in your backyard where you had, then you could compost some other types of foods like that. But for this type of small, in your house, apartment, that you're going to keep maybe under your sink, you don't want to put anything like that in there because that's just going to cause some odor. So here we have some spinach. These are all things that just didn't get eaten or quick enough or got moldy. Those can go in there. We've got strawberry tops. We've got blackberries. We've got coffee grounds are in here.
I think even things like some tea bags can go in.
And the coffee filters too, yeah. We've got some apples.
So we don't even have to break it open.
And we
just
want
drop it in there.
the smaller you chop it up, the faster it'll decompose. So you want to, you don't want to drop like a half of an apple in here, or, the smaller you break it up, the better. And then I've got some eggshells in here. You might just, on the eggshells, just rinse any egg whites or yolk out of them before you put them in here.
Okay.
So we've got all that. Gonna put that in there. Just kind of spread that out. So now we have our carbon, we have our nitrogen, which is our green layer. We have our soil, and then we're going to add some water. So we want to go ahead and mist that.
Okay.
And you want to always make sure you're doing about like a 2-to-1 ratio. So 2 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen. So you want to do twice as much carbon as you do your nitrogen. So browns to greens, 2 browns to every 1 green. So now we're going to use our rake and we're going to mix all of that up.
Okay.
I'll hold it down for you.
So we'll just turn it all under, get it all mixed up really well. I'll mix all the moisture in, mix all our greens and browns.
All the microorganisms that are in there that are going to eat all that stuff up.
Okay.
Okay, and then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add another brown layer. Okay. So we can use soil, or if you have more cardboard or leaves, we'll use soil since we have some right here, and that is to prevent fruit flies.
Very important.
Yes.
Want to keep any little visitors out.
So you want to cover the food is what you're doing, because the fruit flies won't burrow in to find the food. They're only going to look for it if it's on top, so we don't want them to get in there.
You don't want to work too hard to find that food.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's basically it. Now we're going to put our lid on, and ideally you want to store this in a dark place, like under the sink or you know, in a cabinet or a closet. It shouldn't smell, so as long as you're not putting anything, the items we discussed in. So, and then about every 2 to 3 days, you just want to go ahead and turn it.
So we can check the temperature periodically and then just make sure we turn it really well.
So in your kit, you'll have this little thermometer, and typically you can just leave it on the outside of your bin, and then anytime you're going to take the lid off, you might want to record the temperature and humidity before you put it in, and then when you take the lid off, you can just set it right inside and then immediately put the lid back on, and then give it a few minutes and let it just record the temperature and the humidity, and then you can take it out and you can record that. So you can see how much heat is generated from this compost, you know, and working to break down all those food scraps. But so we're going to put our lid back on, and then if you notice your bin is too wet, just add another layer of brown.
Okay.
So that will help soak up the moisture. If it's too dry, then you're going to need to mist it.
Okay.
So it's just
Maybe add some wetter foods.
Correct. You can also add some more some food scraps that have more moisture in them, like cucumbers or strawberries, or you know, stuff like that.
Okay. Great.
Also, when this bin gets about 2/3 full, stop adding to it, because eventually if you keep adding to it and it gets up to here, you're not going to be able to aerate it and turn it and all of that stuff. And then if it's not getting oxygen, it won't work. When there's no more food scraps being broken down, like they've all there's hardly any present or visible, it should be ready and done. And then you should let it sit for about 4 weeks to let it cure, is what they call it, or finish. So, and then after that, you can use it in your garden.
Oh, great. You can pot some plants or put it in my home garden.
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us as we celebrate Earth Day 2023. If you would like to learn more about DFW's work in composting food waste, check out our Earth Day website. There's a QR code on your screen now.
There, you can also upload pictures of your scientific discoveries with our Earth Learning in Action tab, or send us your questions with the Ask a Scientist feature.
We would love to hear from you. Happy Earth Day!